On today's episode of Fin Too Deep with myself and Neal Driscoll, should or will the Miami Dolphins allow Tua Tagovailoa to potentially reset the quarterback market? We will talk about that after Emmanuel Acho's comments yesterday. Also, did Mike McDaniel imply today to everyone that the Miami Dolphins are done spending on the trenches? Man, we will find out about that, and we will talk about that today. Please do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. We also got a big announcement today, so stay tuned.
Touchdown! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! He's got field on the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one on a day where we should be recapping the third and final day of mandatory minicamp. Mike McDaniel let all the boys off the hook. So we are live on Twitter, we are live, or X, and we are live on YouTube right now. One of the few shows of the week where I go live on both platforms. Michelle Migliardi says she's been a member for 26 months, 2 years and 2 months on this channel. Says hi, Reason and Neal. So, and there EM Baller says Johnny Newton's in a walking boot. So there you go. Where is Neal Driscoll? So he's right there. There he is, right there, live and in the flesh. All right, Neal. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you the floor. Let everyone know how you're feeling after first week of mandatory minicamp wrapped up, and we go into like a little bit of a 6-week lull here until training camp comes back, and then that's going to set us up. We got a big announcement for everyone, so go ahead.
Yeah, man, it's that tough time of the year right now when you're a football fan and when you're starved for Dolphins on the football field, right? Because it slows down a little bit all the way up until training camp. But with that said, there's still a lot of business that the Dolphins have to get done over the next few weeks, and we're going to be talking about that. But it's funny, these OTAs and these mandatory mini camps and all these things now, right? Like, I feel like teams are being smarter about them. Like I don't like, for me, a lot of people will say, "Oh, is this player hurt if a veteran doesn't show up?" Like, I'm great. Like, I'm great. Like, I don't need to see Tua out there. I don't need to see Tyreek Hill out there. I frankly don't need to see Odell Beckham Jr. or any of these new, like, they're going to have plenty of time to gel when training camp starts in the preseason. And, it's, for me, this is a marathon more than a sprint this season. Like, if last season taught me anything, I don't care what the roster looks like in September as much as I care what the roster looks like in January. And, I think with the schedule, that today's NFL schedule is grueling. It's, there's an extra game. You're traveling across country. You're playing on Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, now Fridays. And it takes a lot on them. So, like, I'm not saying they're going to operate players on like a pitch count, but I do think that you should be cognizant as a coach of when players are in games. And, we all point to the Bradley Chubb situation last year. he probably shouldn't have been in the game at that point, right? You live and you learn.
Yeah.
With that said, I just think, look, man, like keep these guys healthy. But I'll tell you, I did like some of the things I saw. I'm really excited about Malik Washington. The Devon A-Chain breakout season, I think, is on the horizon here. And it seems like Tua's at that point in his tenure in Miami where he just has so much control when he's on that football field. It's like you expect him to make those throws and the ball not to touch the ground. And it sounds like if the ball was touching the ground, it was because someone had Butterfinger. So I'm happy that everyone made it out of it safe. We got what most of the rookies signed, all but Chop Robinson and Patrick Paul, I believe, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Got some of that business done. So yeah, man, I'm ready. OTAs will be here before we know it, though. I mean, not OTAs. Training camp will be here before we know it. So we get a couple months, enjoy some sunshine, and football will be back in August.
And I mean, that's kind of, I know they're talking about it, but that would be the potential good thing of them potentially extending the length of training camp, right? It would, instead of starting at the end of July, we'd get stuff by like the end of June, right? I mean, we'd have to wait a little bit after the draft, but things would be, would be a little bit more intense, a lot quicker. So, guys, we've almost got Brittany to 500 subs on the Sideline T podcast. She's at like 480 or something like that. Wow. So let's get her there. We're 20 away. And the reason why is this Sunday, guys, we are going to be starting a new podcast that'll be coming to y'all live every Sunday at 8:00. It'll be myself, Brittany from the Sideline T podcast, the man who is to my, well, he's my left.
Right.
And he's your right as you're watching, Neal Driscoll. And we're going to be adding a new one to the bunch, Jennifer Forbush. So it's going to be like, Venus versus Mars, Dolphin style, huh? So
I'm keeping score.
So we're going to be coming live to you guys at 8:00 on Sunday for the first episode. It's going to be like a rebrand of Dolphins After Dark because we want to be able to talk about we want to be able to talk about anything, especially as we get into the June and early July months. So, but for now, that's going to be what we're rolling with. So make sure you guys tune in 8:00 on Sunday for the first episode. And then get Sideline T to 500 because she said she's going live when they hit 500. So, and she's going to be doing a show with Jennifer and Mary Martinez too. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so get her to 500, and this Sunday we'll be debuting new podcast, Dolphins After Dark, the rebrand. So, and shout out to Sideline T. She gifted 10 Phinside the NFL memberships. So, man, you guys keep showing love to her, and she keeps showing love right back to you guys. So, Neal, I wanted to get your thoughts on just quickly. What did you think about what you saw from Anthony Weaver and what you heard Jalen Ramsey say about him? And also, where are you standing right now on, we'll talk about Tua's deal later, so you don't have to talk about that, but where are you standing right now on Tyreek's deal?
Yeah, all right, let's take Anthony Weaver. I'll tell you this. I don't think it's hard when you lose a touted coach like Vic Fangio to not think that you're going to take a step back, right? Like Vic Fangio's resume, it's a 10 out of 10 in terms of defensive coordinators. I got to be honest. I think that the Dolphins defense is going to be better this year than it was last year. And the reason I think that is I think we were way too passive last year. I think that Tennessee Titans game always stands out to me as a team that was playing on their heels with the game on the line against a rookie quarterback. I just think we're going to be so much more aggressive. And this pass rush, when it formalizes and it becomes at full strength, like Phillips looks way ahead of the curve to me right now, man. And honestly, I don't know why it's surprising me. He's as built as any player in this league. He attacks his recovery, with venom. Like, I just feel like that the defensive tackle position without Christian Wilkins is going to be a drop off. There's no doubt. Outside of that, man, I don't know if there is going to be a drop off anywhere else. I think the secondary is better. I know the linebacking core is better, and our pass rush is night and day better. And I, all due respect to Andrew Van Ginkel, I just straight up think Shaq Barrett's a better player than him. And that's not a knock on Van Ginkel. But I also think that Chop Robinson and Mo Kamara have a lot to give here. So the defense, I love, and I just love it. I like that Anthony Weaver is the complete opposite of what Vic Fangio was. He's playing pickup basketball with these guys. He's becoming, and that was the whole thing that I heard here in Baltimore, is that just like players love him, they gravitate towards him, they want to be around him. He's a younger guy, right? Like I feel like players can relate to a guy like that. And if you're a young pass rusher and you see what his resume is of helping those people get to the next step, right? Like you should be excited for him. So I think the Dolphins defense, I don't think there's going to be a huge drop off. I have a feeling it's going to be better when it matters the most. It might be a little slower out of the gates as the team kind of adjusts, but I'm excited about that. The Tyreek deal. Oh man. And Tyreek retweeted me this week, and that was cool. Called me out or whatever it was, whatever they call that, a repost or whatever, requote.
Quote tweet.
Quote tweet. Yeah. Quote tweet. That's what it is. But I mean, you got the best non-quarterback in football telling you he wants to end his career in Miami. It looks like he's willing to take a team-friendly deal. If that is the case, I don't know how you don't let Tyreek play 3 more years here. If he plays 3 more years here, he might just change the entire Dolphins receiving record book too while he's at it. But I don't know, man. I think Tyreek on the football field, as dominant as it gets, 3 more years here, you're probably looking at a top 5 player in Dolphins history, maybe, right? Like he's that good. You keep him and Waddle here with Tua, the offense is going to stay among the top of the league. And, a lot of people give a lot of crap about the Dolphins paying 2 wide receivers. Well, I think Waddle took a team-friendly deal. And if Tyreek does the same, it is what it is. Like, I do think it's a deal that's going to get done, though. It makes sense for both sides.
Okay, so with this whole Tyreek thing, a lot of talk has been about should they rip up the contract and give him a new contract. What I think they're going to do is they're going to tack on another 2 years and spread the money out.
Spread it out. Right.
Is that what you see happening?
Yeah, I think they're just going to kind of keep the foundation of the current deal and add to it, right? And I think really where it gets kind of hairy is that cap hit in 2026. If it's not changed, there's no way Tyreek's going to be here on a $50 million cap hit. It's just not going to happen. So I do think that. And I'll honestly think this. I think the Justin Jefferson contract actually helped. If you're in favor of the Dolphins keeping Tyreek, I think that put a little bit of pressure with Drew Rosenhaus, putting some pressure on Miami to get a deal done. And I'm not saying it's going to happen before the Tua deal, but it wouldn't surprise me if it does. I think both of those are dominoes that are going to fall. And, I'll tell you what, if it comes through my timeline, I'm going to be pretty excited to see Tyreek wrapped up here for a few more years. I mean, we've been talking about this for months. We've heard that he wanted a new deal. They were willing to give him a new deal. They were talking about it. I think it's going to find some harmony and a team-friendly deal.
Okay, so how do you think it falls in line? Where do you think it falls in line? Because now he's out of the top 5 paid wide receivers. Where do you think he's going to land?
I think he's going to definitely get more than Waddle got. And Waddle's what, 3rd?
What is he?
4th. No, because someone else is trying to push him. We'll see. And here's if Miami,
because AJ Brown reset it. Justin Jefferson
destroyed
beat him,
right?
And then who was the person that signed? Not Nico Collins. Who was it? Amon-Ra St. Brown is 3rd, right?
Right, Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Now, so what I would do is, because I know CeeDee Lamb is about to get the bag big time, right? Like big time.
And so is Chase too when he comes.
So is Chase. And CeeDee Lamb's a great player, but I think because of the Justin Jefferson deal, the Cowboys are going to probably have to overpay CeeDee a little bit, right? Like he's going to get big cash. I think Tyreek's going to fall 2nd or 3rd. I think he's going to fall below.
It's going to be him, CeeDee, and Jefferson.
Yeah, I think it's good. I actually think it'll be Jefferson, AJ Brown, and then probably between Tyreek and CeeDee next. And again, he's got every case to make in the world in terms of a negotiation on that deal, right? Like back-to-back 1,700. I mean, like he was literally 1 yard away last year from 1,800 yards.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he's just such a dominant player, man. Like, and this is with all due respect to Waddle, Justin Jefferson. I don't know if any of them are in the same arena as Tyreek Hill.
I think Jefferson is.
You do? See, I think Tyreek is the Patrick Mahomes of the wide receiver position, where they're on the top of the mountain and everybody else is in that tier below. And I love Justin Jefferson. and I think he's great. And I feel kind of bad for him that he's going to probably be catching balls from Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy for the next 5 years. But I do think he's good, and I would definitely have him as the number 2 guy on my list. But I just think Tyreek is so special. Now, the distraction shit is a pain. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is. Now he's been a good boy for a couple weeks now, so I don't want to give him too much crap. But I mean, Tyreek, the football player on the field, man.
You know what it sounds like,
field,
Neal, too?
so good, man.
You know what it sounds like, Neal? Like, did you listen to him when he talked about retiring as a Dolphin when he was at that little press conference? You know what it sounded like, bro? It sounded like his family is telling him, we don't want to leave. We want you. Like, they got a taste of them, because he talked about how much his family loves it in Miami. He kept going on about his family. And I feel like his wife and his mother and his whole family is telling him, we want you. We don't want to leave. Like that's the feeling I'm getting, is he's getting pressure from the family too, of, okay, go get your money, but we don't want to leave Miami.
Well, look, and like, so like when he chose the Dolphins over the Jets, right? And it was, the whole tax debate, right? That saved him $2 million in hard cash when the difference between playing in New York and playing in Miami.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of it. But we talked about this a few weeks ago when we said that, I think I said that I felt the leverage in the relationship has shifted. You know what I mean? It was kind of like Tyreek came in here, demanded the big contract. The Dolphins acquiesced to everything that he wanted. And now I feel like it's 2 years later, and it's like, wow, I love it here. Like, we just saw them get number 1 on those NFL report cards that came out, right? Great culture, right? Playing with people that he likes, that he sees the upside on, right? Close for home for his family, right? Like, all those things matter, man. And like, in the grand scheme of things, like, obviously not at that kind of level, but I've made business decisions where I could have made more money leaving a company that I worked for, but I liked what I was doing. Had a great flexibility, whatever that was that kept me. So like once you have, like, Tyreek has what I call FU money, and once you have that, a lot of your worries go away. Tyreek's not up at night worrying about, paying his mortgage or anything like that. So I think it's one of those things that for him, let's say it's a $3 million difference a year over 4 years, $12 million. If he goes to a place that's got, state taxes, maybe the difference is $6-7 million over a 4-year period of time. To Tyreek Hill, that's not a lot of money. It really isn't. So I think that the reason the deal is going to work is, I actually think Tyreek's willingness to stay here on a team-friendly deal probably changes Miami's plans, where I think he would play this year, see how it goes, but likely be here next year and then be out. I think that was the original plan. I think they say, hey, man, if we can get this guy for another year, throw a void year on there, whatever, to stretch that deal out. Tyreek Hill at $33 million, 33 years old, if he's still playing at this level, who gives a shit? Like, he's worth every damn penny. Like, the money's the money, man. And like, that's where, and I know we're going to talk about Tua's deal. Like, what we have to understand is today's record-setting deal is irrelevant the next time someone at that position signs.
Yeah, it's true.
It goes away, right? And I think it's one of those things that, like, you got to let it play out, because it doesn't matter. In 5 years, quarterbacks are going to be making $75 million a year, right? Like, it's just true. It's the nature.
Because the cap's going to keep going up, right? $30 million a year, basically.
Right. Caleb Williams is probably going to sign an extension at $70+ million a year when he comes.
If he's good. If he's good. If he's good.
I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, keep Tyreek here, keep Waddle here. And from a cap perspective, I put it out there today. There is so much flexibility. There's more flexibility in restructures this year than there was last year. And those restructures don't have to be $15-20 million rips. They can be a bunch of $5 million singles. And I think there's a lot that you can do there, and keep this team, and extending Tyreek extends the window even further. But I think for that to happen, it's, Tyreek's going to have to want to play ball, and I think he will. I mean, you don't get Tyreek Hill's not going to go to Mike and say he wants to finish his career in Miami if he's not willing to kind of compromise, probably, and find a happy medium between what he wants and the Dolphins want. Dolphins.
Well, I think another factor in this is Drew Rosenhaus, right? Because they have such a good relationship with Drew Rosenhaus. I mean, you saw a segment where he basically said that they let Greer and Shore know exactly how they feel and exactly where they stand. So it's not like I got more faith in a deal getting done quickly with Drew Rosenhaus than I do with Athletes First. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, and the way he said it, it didn't seem like Drew Rosenhaus was concerned at all.
No.
It seemed like nonchalant.
We got to take care. They know what the deal is. They got to take care of Tua before they start talking about $30+ million a year. So let's get into that. Speaking of the sideline T, who she handed out 10 free memberships. So Dolphin Don J Bands 561. Mario Gonzalez, DDSCLA, Jennifer Forbush, Taya Kanani, JC Arenas, Ted S, and Alonzo Branton, as well as Keith Davis, all got memberships when Brittany handed out 10 memberships. So go over to the community tab, go check out. You see a bunch of posts on the community tab that the public does not see now that you are a member. So go check it out. Shout out to all of you who are tuning in right now. Over 300 on YouTube, well over 300 on X right now. All right, so let's get into this. Now, I'm not going to play the video because those, demonetization demons will be coming for me, but I will play the audio. And this is actually brought to my attention yesterday by Britt, and this is what Emmanuel Acho had to say regarding Tua Tagovailoa and resetting the QB market.
Tua should absolutely reset the market, in large part because what the Miami Dolphins have asked Tua to do, he has done. Hey, stay healthy, Tua. Okay, did that. Hey, Tua, I need you to resurrect this franchise and take them back to the playoffs. Okay, did that. Hey, Tua, I need you to travail beyond all the muck, which is the chaos in the organization. Remember Tua's first 2 years, coaching changes, chaos within the coaching. Okay, did that. The Tua, I need you to make the Dolphins relevant again. Okay, did that. But here's what's most fascinating as to why Tua should reset the market. If you look at the quarterbacks making $50+ million, the Hurtses, the Burrows, the Herberts, the Goffs, and the Jacksons, look at Tua the last 2 years. He's first in yards per game. He's first in yards per attempt. He's first in pass rating. He's first in passing touchdowns. Is that every category? Absolutely not. But a gentleman who is first in that many meaningful statistics, passing yards per game, passing touchdowns, and passer rating, that is a man who should be able to reset the market. Has Tua won the playoff game or games that you would want him to? No. Does he still have room to grow? Abso-freaking-lutely. But at this junction in time, you asked him to stay healthy, he did. You asked him to be in MVP conversations, he did. You asked him to make the Dolphins relevant again, he did. Since he's gotten with Mike McDaniel, he's been a top flight quarterback. He's shown you that. He has to be able to reset the market, and quarterbacks who have done less, they reset the market. I won't question if he does as well.
I mean, a lot of good points, and the reason why we're talking about this, Neil, is because this graphic is exactly what Athletes First is sitting there and saying when they're looking at all. I mean,
it's a good sales presentation.
I mean, this is the rankings amongst the QBs currently earning $50+ million in annual average. I mean, let's have the conversation. Herbert, right? Herbert, what have you done since your rookie season and you won your little Pepsi Rookie of the Year award, right? 2 coaches have been fired, 2 staffs have been replaced, and you just had your team picking in the top 5. Just saying, okay? Jared Goff, all right? He got paid because he basically, to an extent, rekindled his career because, McVay was ready to write him off, okay? Lamar Jackson has just as many MVPs in the NFL as he does playoff wins, and he's been in the league for how long? 6 years now? Has it been?
Yeah, he's on
Jalen Hurts, all right? Other than the year they went to the Super Bowl, which he was fantastic in that Super Bowl game, but go look at his numbers that season as a passer. They were not impressive when they went to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, Neil, he's my favorite of this bunch, right? He's been my favorite of this bunch next to Tua since the 2020 draft. But he's more injury prone than Tua Tagovailoa. And if the Bengals could rework that deal and put more protections in that deal, if they could hop in the DeLorean and go back and change things, I think they would, which is why the Dolphins are trying to put protections in their deal. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you what I've told people here, Neil. You heard Tua Tagovailoa talk and say he's not concerned. You even heard Tua stress how much progress they've made. Now, people have tried to make it out like, oh, Tua sounded pissed, Tua sounded frustrated, when Tua said he's not neither one of those things. He said, I'm a word, and I think the word is anxious. I think, the reason when I got back from Punta Cana and we started hearing about, oh, he's skipping OTAs, oh, they made an offer, the reason why they're getting aggressive, I said back then, was I think Tua told athletes first, go get me my money, go get this done. And the reason why I think that they're at this point is because the framework of the deal is pretty much agreed upon. We've heard Cam Wolf say multiple times that it's going to be coming in, the annual average is going to be coming in around Goff. Why does that matter? Cam Wolf is plugged into Tua's camp and the Dolphins, right? We've heard, and if you heard Ian Rappaport and these guys, Darlington put on a mid-July projection. You see people are starting to say, oh, this is going to get done before camp. Oh, this is going to get done for camp. Because I believe the framework is, I think this is coming down to guaranteed money and how this is structured in terms of injury protections, et cetera, et cetera. So should Tua Tagovailoa be able to reset the market? Should the Miami Dolphins allow Tua Tagovailoa to reset the quarterback market, given what Acho said, given what you're seeing in front of you, and given what you said even 5 minutes ago, Neal? You can let him reset the quarterback market tomorrow. Guess what? As soon as the next big quarterback extension hits, right? Like Dak in the offseason or whatever, that it's going to be irrelevant. He's no longer going to have reset it. So, and I mean, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. Another thing too, Neal, I don't know if you heard, but we're farther along, apparently, according to Ian Rappaport, with negotiations with Tua than the Jags are with Trevor Lawrence. And why I've told people that matters, Neal, is because of this. We know how hard the Jaguars want that deal done. We know the Jaguars have already come to the conclusion they're going to play Trevor Lawrence $50+ million a year. So what does that tell you, Neal? Again, I go back to the framework is clearly done with Tua, and I think that's why this frustration that people are trying to make out to be is lingering, because it's like getting a foot from the finish line, but you got to stop and take a glass of water, and you can't cross that finish line until you get the glass of water. You're right there, but something's holding you back from crossing that finish line, and that's where I feel like they're at right now. But what are your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa resetting the market, and what are your thoughts on where they're at in negotiations?
Yeah, look, I think Tua is eager to get the deal done. Like, I think it's one of those things that, like, look, this is his profession. This is the pinnacle of his pay in his profession. This is going to set his family up for generations, right? I think this is a huge deal to Tua, right? And, think about this. He was at a company, right, organization, that the first 2 years he was there, he was a disgruntled employee, probably miserable. And the complete 180 that's happened under Mike McDaniel, and he's flourishing. And, I think he wants to be rewarded for that. Now, I don't think he's going to have to reset the market, because there are some bad deals out there. I think Deshaun Watson's deal after that,
terrible.
Sure. I mean, he has a $64 million cap number in 2024.
Bro, and I saw someone on Twitter trying to say Deshaun Watson is better than Tua.
Yeah, he's not. I was wrong. I said that.
I'm not saying you wouldn't say that on June 6, 2024, but I saw someone on Twitter actually saying, well, Watson's better than Tua. In what world right now?
Yeah, I did say that in 2021, and I was.
Yeah, it's been 3 years, Neal.
I'm surprised by how wrong I was, though. I really am. But only 2 quarterbacks in this league, because I'm looking at the numbers right now, have $50 million plus cap hits. Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson. And for Dak, it makes sense because he's in an all-in year where he's practically, right, like, if you want the money. After that, I mean, you only have 3 quarterbacks that have over $40 million cap hits, and one of them's Daniel Jones. Like, so what I'm saying is that, like, people get blinded by the money. Follow the trail of the guaranteed money, and that's going to tell you the real story. I think Tua's going to get a contract a little bit bigger than Jared Goff, right? And, like, so let's say my number that I'm going to come in on Tua annually is $54 million. That's where I think he's going to end up. I think he deserves every penny, because where one side of the fence is like, oh, but Tua's not Patrick Mahomes. Well, I remember sitting there trying to put a John Beck and a Gus Frerotte jersey on it, a Dante Culpepper jersey, and convince myself that we had a franchise quarterback for 20 plus years, and just having fool's gold after fool's gold. Chad Henne, Damon Heward, Jay Fiedler,
John Beck.
Yeah, 1 year Chad Pennington, I'll give that, was awesome in 2008, because that was like the first time that it felt like we have relevancy at the quarterback position. Tua in the last 2 years has been better than Chad Pennington was in 2008. Like, it's just factual. Tannehill, like, he was serviceable. He never made me feel like he was a franchise quarterback. I just never felt it. With Tua, I always felt that he was going to be. It got the water got rocky. I'm not gonna lie, it got rocky. But man, found.
I remember those Sundays, how rocky they got for you, Neal.
Oh my God. Like, yeah, man. So like, for him to get $54 million, like, I don't give a shit, because then Dak Prescott's going to sign more money. And then the next guy,
Trevor Lawrence, is going to sign something stupid.
And then Pat Mahomes is going to be like, hey, I'm the best in the world. Let's redo my contract so I'm above them. And you're just going to have a constant cycle of this.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me that Tua, like, we're talking about Tua and Jared Goff, because I really think that Tua is today's version of Jared Goff, where when Jared Goff lost that Super Bowl for the Rams, right, he kind of became a punching bag for like the national media and the league. And then obviously he got traded for Matt Stafford, which was just such a slap in the face for him, as a professional, to have a peer come in, win a Super Bowl. But watching Goff emerge here as a borderline top 10 quarterback in his own right, I think is one of my favorite stories that I've watched in a non-Dolphins lens in football. Like, I like the lines. I think they're fun. I like how they drafted, and I like Jared Goff because he showed extreme mental toughness to block out that noise, establish himself, and get a big payday. Like, I think we're seeing Tua do the same exact thing on the Miami Dolphins, where right now he's the punching bag for the national media, for Jets fans, for Bills fans. Like, Jets fans start spaces in the morning that say
they shouldn't be talking about Tua. Go look at his record.
Well, it's funny, man. It's crazy, and that's where you'll see like I try not to bite my tongue, but like sometimes it's crazy, man. Some of the stuff that happens in there, but like that's the thing, man. I said this: if you're a Patriots fan and you're a Jets fan, Tua's your boogeyman. He's undefeated in this division,
like Josh Allen is to us,
Bills.
right?
And it's the exact same comparison. So it's like and I'll be honest, I think the Dolphins are closer to bucking that trend than the Patriots and Jets are to figure it out.
I agree.
Because I'll say this: as good as the Jets fans think their defense is, I tell you what,
lit them up every time.
Miami's offense doesn't think they're that good.
Yeah, no. And Tua plays with the confidence against the Jets and the Patriots we wish he'd play against the Bills consistently. And that's where the whole Aaron Rodgers thing's. Everyone always coming back. Like, this overhype with the Jets is hilarious to me because, even if he's back to 110%, he better put up points because Tua puts up points against that defense. Like, man,
he can't even put full pressure on his heel. Like, he's definitely. I don't have a problem with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't. I think if Aaron Rodgers was the player that he was the last time we saw him in Green Bay, the Jets are still not one of the top 4 teams in the AFC. And that's just me.
And what's with the Breece Hill love more than Devin Achane? Like, Devin Achane did more as a rookie on less carries than Breece Hall, but all these people hyping up Breece Hall like he's the best running back in the AFC East right now. Brother, we might have the 3 best running backs in the AFC East when they get a load of Jalen Wright between Raheem, Jalen, and Devon. Like, what are these guys talking about?
Well, when we hear about Tua's contract, right, and the cost, the one thing that I do not hear about it is, and I know one of the hot topics here is, and we're going to talk about it in a second on the offensive line and where did the Dolphins do enough? You can get by with an adequate offensive line with Tua Tagovailoa as your quarterback. His release masked a lot of the problems the interior of the offensive line has, right? Mm-hmm. So when you look at the cost of our guards and Aaron Brewer, which those 3 starters I think are $12 to $13 million in total for 3 starters on the offensive line, you can get away doing that with a guy like Tua Tagovailoa at your quarterback because he gets the ball out, because he doesn't take a lot of hits, right? Like you can do that with the rhythm of the offense and the fast-paced passing attack. So you can save expenses on the offensive line by paying your franchise quarterback if he knows how to distribute the football and get it out of his hand. And to me, man, as a Dolphins fan, I can't wait for Tua to get his contract because there's nothing better at night than putting your head on a pillow as a football fan of a team and knowing you have a quarterback for the long term. Because I don't know how many times we've been able to do that in our fandom. In the post-Dan Marino world, I knew Tannehill would be here for a few years. Other than him and Pennington, where Pennington didn't get through the next year, if you remember, he got hurt and became Henny.
Yeah.
I never felt that feeling. Like, I'll be honest, the first time I saw Dante Culpepper play that game on Thursday night, the opener against the Steelers, and he threw all those picks and he looked like shit, I was like, of course, the Dolphins
we're screwed.
Dante Culpepper and he sucks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember that.
I was so disappointed. But yeah, so like I can't wait. And
remember how quickly those Culpepper jerseys went on sale?
Yep.
You remember that? Like,
hell yeah.
I remember saying no, passing on that.
Nope.
You know what jersey I remember back in the day really waiting for it to come out up here because, NFL shop wasn't the thing it is right now. I remember, and when I got it in the aqua. I remember just waiting on that Ronnie Brown jersey to hit because oh man, I was a huge Ronnie Brown fan.
Me too.
Like, I think he gets overlooked a ton, and Chad Pennington gets way too much credit for that season because if it wasn't for the Wildcat and Ronnie Brown essentially running the Wildcat, do we make the playoffs even with Pennington that year? Remember, Pennington didn't even throw for 20 touchdowns that year.
Yeah, 2006. I go to a Miami Heat's game. I'm second row from the court. My dad's company was building out there. You got tickets, and literally the seat directly to my left was Ronnie Brown, and
I loved him.
Neon green Ralph Lauren polo shirt, and I just said, "Run, Ronnie, run!" And he, it was really, really cool. And Ronnie Brown to me was one of my favorites.
So was him, man.
Well, I always say this because that was my senior year of college is when we drafted him. You want to hear? Guess who the player who was on the background of my college computer was? Aaron Rodgers. Al.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yep. That's the guy I wanted because I knew Alex Smith was going number one overall. I wanted Aaron Rodgers big time.
Yeah. And you remember that? That was a Ronnie and Cadillac were pretty good, eh?
And Cedric Benson, man. Like that was a great running back
combo.
That was fun.
No, I'm talking about their combo at Auburn. Remember Cadillac and Ronnie at Auburn? That's what I was talking about. Man. And Cadillac went to Tampa, right?
Right. And that's when running backs would go. 3 running backs went in the top 10.
Yeah, man. Back in the day, man. Holy geez. Back when running the football mattered more. All right. Let's talk about Mike McDaniel today. I got a few clips I want to play. And let's play this first one because to me, Neal, it sounds like we might be done spending on the trenches. This is what he responded with when he was asked about that.
I said before, Chris Greer's always working Komen. I am very happy with our current orchestration of both those units. The offensive line, there's a little more history and experience. Personally, with all the guys involved, it's on the defensive line. There's more new, so guys are working to get things tied together with the entire defense in that regard. Just like the newer offensive linemen that we do have are working to master a new scheme. I'm very happy with the team. Open to competition. I think competition always breeds benefit for the Miami Dolphins, just because it brings the best out of people. So we'll never shut the door on that. But I'm happy with the groups, their production, how they've been working together, and happy with both depths.
So to me, Neal, it sounds like unless there's a big time injury on that line, or they just get, Greg Van Routen is ready to come here for pennies on the dollar, or there's a trade where they're absolutely robbing the other team, like the Saints or something of Cesar Ruiz. It doesn't sound like they're eager to add much more to the trenches on both sides of the football. It pretty much sounds like what has been kind of alluded to, that it's going to be a rotation next to Zach Sealer on one side, and then on the other side, they saw how dominant Isaiah Wynn was when he was healthy, so they think he's good there. They got the Jack Driscoll and Eichenberg battle at the right guard, and they're comfortable with whoever comes out of that because both of them, their best tape at the professional level has been at right guard. And they are what I've been warning people. They are very high on Aaron Brewer at center. They do not see much of a drop-off between Aaron Brewer and Connor Williams. I mean, Aaron Brewer's athleticism is going to allow to do more than Connor Williams. I mean, I don't know if you watched a lot of Tennessee stuff, but they would pull with Aaron Brewer. Like they would, one of the few teams in the NFL that would pull with their center, right? That they pulling across the backside. So, what do you take away from that? Because it sure sounds like all the people who are banging the table for Dalton Reisner, obviously he's gone, but you know what I'm talking about. This all the people that banging the table for adding some viable competition that could potentially win those starting spots. That's not the outlook they have right now.
Well, I'll say this, man. I'd rather play poker with Chris Moneymaker at a table than an NFL head coach. Because when they're at those podiums, man, they do a good job of lying. And here in Baltimore, John Harbaugh always has his pressers. And if he's talking, 95% of what he's saying is a lie. I think that's kind of like the corporate line for right now. But if the right shook free at the right price or the right opportunity came along to make a trade, I think Miami would be interested. You know, we've talked about Quinn Miners, and it's really unlikely that Denver would trade a guy like that, right? That it would make a lot of sense.
Especially with now a young quarterback in the fold, right?
Right, but here's let me tell you the team that I would pay attention to. It's the Kansas City Chiefs because they have Joe Thuney, who's making a shit ton of money.
Yeah, okay.
Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith are both unrestricted free agents after this season. They just drafted Kingsley Suamataia, Hunter Norzad, and CJ Hansen on the interior. If one of those guys take off in training camp, because I think they would sign Creed Humphrey, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
If Trey Smith was available, I would run a second-round pick to Kansas City for Trey Smith. And I don't, he's probably going to get $15 to $17 million a year as an extension if you do that. But man, like I don't know. And
what a steal he was! I remember him coming out of Tennessee.
Well,
man.
They got him in the
sixth round.
Yeah,
the heart issue. But I remember how good his film was, man.
He was the 21st overall player on my board that year who fell in the sixth round. Every round out, the Dolphins on the board, I was like, please. Yeah. But I think that I think the Dolphins, if it looks rough in August, will make a move, and they have the cap because you got to think about this. Let's say they get this Tua deal done in July, which is what Jeff Darlington
adds another 10 to 15, right?
Yeah, I would say let's say 12. We'll meet in the middle, right? Well, after they sign Chop Robinson and they sign Patrick Paul, they're going to be about $15 million under the cap still. Because what people don't understand, and Kyle Krabs pointed this out, but like when they sign a guy, someone moves off of the top 51, and that player's probably making $895,000. Yeah. So it offsets against.
That's why the draft class, the 5 they signed. I covered it on my channel. The 5 that they signed did not affect the top 51
at all. Yeah. No cap change. So like, let's say they have 15, they have 12, they have $27 million in cap space, right? Mm-hmm. Like, sure, you can carry that over, which is going to help you against the cap a lot next year, right? But there's also at this time of year where you sign deals. Like they're not like even a guy like Justin Simmons isn't going to get $15 million a year anymore. That ship sailed. Like he's on a 1-year, probably incentive-based deal with a cap hit of $4 to $5 million with upside. Like, right? Like that's so like, I think that they are going to add players still. I think they're going to be very strategic. Like it wouldn't surprise me if between now and training camp, you get the Tua deal done and the Tyreek deal. Cause then think about this. A Tyreek deal could free even more cap space, right? I think it's I think it's 17.
But is it next year? It's next year, right? He frees up money next year. Frees up a little money this year, but he frees up $15 million next year if you sign him to a deal, and then we're $15 million over the cap. He basically clears it up.
Right. Well, and just so you know, over the cap is going off of this year's number on the salary
not
cap.
Next year's.
Spot Rack's going off of a projection. Increase.
Yeah.
So they have us at like 3. And Spot Track's projection is less than what we've been hearing. So I think it's a safe bet that that's a good number to use. And they overcap. One thing I wish that those websites would have a section to show what they changed and when.
Did you see Spot Track went to premium now?
No, did they? I didn't
So
see
you
it.
can't you know how you used to be able to hover over certain numbers and then all the info would come up. Like they took that away because it's premium now.
Wow. Like everyone's trying to make a buck, man. That's interesting.
Even the cap sites are doing it to us now, bro.
Well, see what I think a Tyreek deal and the Tua deal, like everyone's worried about how we're going to fit the money in. Like the way they structure those, it's going to make things very palatable for the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
Because Bradley Chubb and Teron Armstead, it might not be this year, but in the next year or two, they're both gone, right? It's going to happen, right? You've mentioned this. They have a lot of interest in keeping David Long Jr. around here, right?
Yeah.
Javon Holland, I'm confident they could keep Long, Holland, Tua, and Tyreek and still have money because
I don't think bro.
You think Holland? Yeah, I agree. I could see it, and it's a good safety class next year.
I just don't think he's going to pay the premium that Holland's going to want.
See, I think
he'd rather give that money to the offense, and he's going to say, "Listen, I can draft that position."
You know what I think they're going to do though? I think he's going to get the tag, 1-year tag, and then move on.
What's that tag? Have you looked at it? Do you know what the franchise tag is?
For a safety, it's got to be decent because Antoine.
Do they fall? Hold on, but is it all
top 5?
Yeah, but no, it's not safety. It's a defensive back. Because look at what they do with the offensive line. Look what they do with the offensive line, right? It's all under one.
I thought Antoine Winfield was $18 million.
No, you're right. They separated cornerback and safety.
Okay.
The franchise tag is the 2024 franchise tag is 17.1, and the 2025 franchise tag is 18.78.
Javon will be here on 17.1, I think.
I even got it. Oh, I don't know, man.
So if I was on a team, I'd tag him. I would personally have Bradley Chubb as a post-June cut, saving $20 million, and use that money to negotiate the extension with Holland. But I can see it because I do think safety is a position. We're obviously way early to talk draft. I think defensive back, corner, safety is going to be a huge priority or a huge want of the front office in next year's draft class.
Tricky Torres, you should do a meet and greet that includes Webb, Ballgame, and Neal. Yeah, I'm going to be down for the Raiders weekend. I know Ballgame, I've told him, and Webb's Neal might be on crutches, so we'll figure out that. We'll see. I know some other people that'll be coming down for that, but that's the plan. And then Knight says, unless a great deal or surprise shakes free, I've warned people in spaces since the draft that this is going to be the line. Great show, guys. I mean, the fact of the matter is everything is pretty much set except right guard. You know they're rolling with a healthy Isaiah Wynn after they saw what he did last year. I mean, that was just a given. I mean, and Michelle says, excited to hear about your new show. Appreciate you.
I think we're a lot of fans, because of how last season ended, are underestimating the Dolphins. I don't think people realize how close they were last year, despite losing a game to Kansas City.
Well, I think it's also they don't. We're go back to 2016 when we made the playoffs. There's always been key injuries, whether it was Tannehill that year, and now I think they just don't trust that these guys are going to stay healthy. That's exactly what I think it's. And it's not just the quarterback. They don't trust the offensive line are going to stay healthy. We don't trust. I mean, they added Jalen Wright because they pretty much don't trust that the rest of the guys are going to stay healthy by the end of the year. I mean, we're seeing Tyreek, who has never had health issues before. Now he's having a problem staying healthy late in the year because of how much he's being targeted and used, right? Waddle had issues staying that's what I think people are coming. I think it's the problem of if you could give us a healthy roster into January, we're ready to F shit up. But because we can't, it's just such an unknown.
2 seasons ago, the Ravens ended with 22 players on IR, and most of them were top players. One was Lamar Jackson, and they had a relatively healthy season last year. I think Mark Andrews was a big loss. Other than that, they stayed pretty healthy. Obviously you never know, but I think I'm hoping the football god said, hey, we took it pretty rough on Miami last year.
Yeah.
And that's where it's
throw us a bone.
I always think this matters, man. And, Dolphins get shit about this, but starting hot matters because
and we do.
You control your destiny when you start hot, right? And look, that Baltimore game, we got slapped in the face. The Bills pulled a miracle, a 95-yard punt return changed the complex of that game. I'm not going to make excuses. We lost those football games. We have to start winning those football games.
Yeah.
But I just don't think the variance between
The Tennessee game.
The Tennessee game is the one that is embarrassing to lose because that changes everything.
Well,
That
because if
changes
we won
everything.
that game, we won the division.
And we play
We-
Mason Rudolph.
We
And
would have we would
Yeah.
have clinched the division on Christmas Eve, right?
We would
Or
have
Christmas Day.
rested. We would have been resting starters against Buffalo.
Yeah, we would have clinched with that Dallas win. We would have clinched the division with that Dallas win, man. Oh, terrible. All right.
And the Steelers and Mason Rudolph without TJ Watt would have been your opponent instead of playing Patrick Mahomes in minus 20 degrees. Right? Like,
yeah. Another little interesting tidbit. Someone said we should have started the show today at 5:24.
I love that. I love
PM,
that. I saw that.
And the reason why they said that was because of, well, they said that because of what our boy Mike McDaniel had to say. Now, you know, what did you think about that? Because what we're talking about is this. Mike McDaniel had this to say when he was talking about his meetings. Mike McDaniel said his staff schedules meetings at times that end in 24, 3:24, 5:24, 7:24, etc. to represent the 24 years it's been since the Dolphins have won a playoff game. Miami hoping to snap that drought in 2024. Man, I mean, talk about self-awareness, eh? You gotta love it, no?
Dude, pressure makes diamonds or burst pipe, man. It's accountability. And I love that they are going into the season realizing the opportunity that they lost last year, right? Because we all talk about it. We hear all these other fan bases talk about it. I'm happy that Mike McDaniel's thrown it in his team's face because I think that that's you're going to learn a lot about the makeup of this football team. And I'm betting on the football team. I think that they have that swagger. I think they have that demeanor. I think they know that they have to go and change this narrative this year. And that's why I love that our schedule's tough and it's cold at the end of the year, right? Because win, lose, or draw, it's going to help the Dolphins adjust. And one of the things why the Dolphins might struggle in the cold late in December is because they don't play a lot of games in the cold late in December, right? Like, it's one of those things. And practice kind of makes perfect. And I like that the Dolphins are going into this season with kind of a mission, right? The mission is, for me, it's finish the job. Like, don't get 90% of the way. You're heading to Baltimore on the road. You can win. If you win that game, you're the number one seed. Oh, shit, you're not the number one seed. You don't even win your division. Like, I think that's an honest look in the mirror. And I like to see Mike McDaniel as a young head coach challenging his team because he gets a lot of criticism for being that buddy, happy-go-lucky guy. I think this time he's fighting back a little bit.
Didn't sound like he was that after the Kansas City loss because he pretty much reamed out Tyreek Hill and said, "You're supposed to be our best player. We pay you all this money, and L'Jarius Sneed is putting you on your ass." I mean, Tyreek Hill literally talked about how McDaniel ripped him a new one.
Right.
So, I mean, call him buddy all you want, but I mean, he's holding people accountable because if scheduling everything at 3:24, 5:24, etc., because of the 24-year drought doesn't show you that he recognizes what's at stake here and what needs to be done.
Right.
I don't know what will. Tony Rizzi says, change the narrative. Don't play stars in the fourth ahead by 30. I think he's talking a little bit about, the Bradley Chubb there one a little bit, right? Neal, I got someone in my comments. I want to get your thoughts on this. OG Barry says the Panthers are winning the Stanley Cup. I'm cheering for the Oilers. They took care of the Rangers. I wanted them to take care of the Rangers because I hate the Rangers, but I'm cheering for McDavid and the Oilers, McJesus. So I'm cheering for the Oilers, man. I mean, I'm sorry. I want to see McDavid get some hardware because, I mean, I've heard all the comparisons to Sidney Crosby, and Sidney won a lot earlier than McDavid did. And plus, I mean, it's time for the Stanley Cup to come back home, all right? Like all these, you look at 70% of the league is Canadian, right? I mean, go look at all the Canadian players that'll be playing in tonight's game. So it's time for the Stanley Cup to come back north of the border.
Oh, man, I'll tell you this. If I had to pick who I want to win, I'd be on the same side as you. And that goal that McDavid scored the other night through the
was nasty, bro.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
I think
sick.
I think Panthers win it in 7. I do. I just
They're
think
a
that
complete team. They're pretty complete.
they're playing awesome, man. And this is their year. They're all in. I do think the Panthers are going to win it, and they're due, man. And Bob's playing unreal at the right time, man. And I just have a feeling the Panthers are going to win it, man. And that's cool. I'll tell you what, that Rangers-Panthers series, man, like I'm a Caps fan, reason you're a Penguins fan. I didn't have a dog in the fight, man. But that series, playoff hockey to me is the best. It's the pinnacle of sports, man.
Alex Lafreniere actually looked like the top pick he was this playoff run. Like he's finally turning that corner and looking like the guy.
Dude,
even Dallas, Wyatt Johnson, like Dallas had a good run too, man.
Right. No, I'm with you, man. It was that series. The goaltending was just so good in those games, man.
Yeah.
It felt like an old school hockey playoff series, man. I miss it, man. And unfortunately for me, the Caps probably won't be back in the playoffs for a while. So it sucks, man. Because what do you mean?
Our team's missed by like literal points.
Well, we got in and we got swept, but
yeah, but I'm talking about we missed by one point, and you guys got swept in the first round. I think
we finally have. I mean, we have the best cap space we've had in 15 years.
But remember, we also got. The Penguins got 5 Eastern Conference appearances, 4 Stanley Cup appearances. You know what I mean? Like we got our cups, right? We got 3 cups as well. You got your cup, right? We took care of business, right? So the thing is, our guys are, we are much farther down the line than what Panthers fans and even Oilers fans are, right? Because Crosby's going on 38, Ovechkin's going on 38, 39. We've already done that. We've been there, right?
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you that Thursday night in 2018, because I know you're not you're the Caps and Penguins rivals, but the Caps, like they were like kind of what the Dolphins were in December, but in the playoffs.
And the Penguins were the Bills. You guys couldn't get over that Penguins hump, and then you finally did.
I went to Pittsburgh when you guys beat us like 7-2 in that one game. When it was awful, and when we won the Stanley Cup, I literally out of a 30-ounce Stanley Cup mug was drinking White Russians for Ovechkin. And when I tell you that I got NASCAR drunk, man, when they won the cup. There was 29 people in this bar.
That's a lot of milk, bro.
Well, I bought 29 bottles of champagne for every person in the bar to have their own bottle of champagne. And man, I partied till 5 o'clock in the morning, and I drove to my office and I called my boss at the time. And he was a big Red Sox fan. And I called him and said, "Good news, bad news." I said, "Good news, I'm in the parking lot. Bad news is the driver's seat of my car is like got a half inch of puke in it right now. I'm not feeling so hot." And he's like, "That's exactly how I was when the Sox finally got over the hump."
Yeah.
Go home. Dude, I went home. I slept for 5 hours. I went down to Washington, D.C., dude, and I didn't even come home for 2 days. I just partied. I stayed in a hotel lobby one night. It was so freaking awesome, man, to have that experience. And I love the Caps and I love the Orioles, but like if the Dolphins ever did that, dude, like
see, that's the thing. Like these Dolphin fans have missed out because like I'm as big of a Penguins fan as I am a Dolphin fan, right? And so every year we, since 2008, we've gone to the Stanley Cup. Me and my brother go down to a game. I went, and saw Game 3 each year in 2008, 2009. And then we went to Game 2 in 2016 and 2017, right? Predators, Sharks, and then the Red Wings years, back-to-back years. But when me and my brother would get together for every Game 2 when we were home. So when we sat there, when we won, see, people, Dolphin fans, the feeling of watching your team win as an adult and popping a bottle of champagne, because that's what we did every year. We had champagne on ice. It's such a different, I don't know, man. It's just such a different vibe. And man, I hope I get to experience that with the Dolphins before I pass away. God help me.
I thought that I liked the Capitals as much as I liked the Dolphins until Tua had that comeback in Baltimore. Because that comeback in Baltimore, I don't know if it's because I'm from Baltimore and I totally have banter with half of Baltimore. I mean, when the Dolphins play the Ravens, if the Dolphins lose hundreds of I can't even answer my phone because I have so many messages coming in. But when Tua got that game-winning touchdown to Waddle, man, I'll be honest, it rivaled a cup win to me. Like just that one game. Dude.
You were in the building too, right?
Oh,
that was
dude,
arguably one of the greatest.
I was standing on a seat in front of this Ravens fan that was dancing in front of me all night,
and
we
to
still beat
outduel
them.
them.
Like it was unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, guys, please do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. We'll be back on Sunday live for Dolphins After Dark with Brittany and Jennifer Forbush, Brittany of the Sideline T. Go sub. We are getting close to 500. When she gets to 500, her and a couple of the Dolphins ladies are going to go live. So go show some love. We appreciate you guys for coming, guys and gals, for coming through. Do us the favor, smash the like button, and we will see all of you this Sunday. Until then, fins up all day, every day, and have a fantastic evening, everyone.